Well, today's episode is going to be a real fun one for everybody. So, we're going to be reviewing MLW's recent underground show that took place this past Tuesday that features, of course, the MLW World titles on the line. The Samoan SWAT team, consisting of Juicy Finau and Lance Sonoy, will finally get their shot for those tag titles. And also, per Cesar Duran request, he wants the MLW middleweight championship defended. As you know, he has a personal grudge against the champion, Lince Dorada. And we got plenty other things that took place. And of course, we have the latest GLEAT show, G Pro Wrestling version 46. As you know, the war rages on with the factions and whatnot. And then, of course, we continue with more of the second rounds of the New Japan Cup. This will be the last two matches that will be take place. We have Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Shota Umino, and of course, and I believe we had David Finlay versus the Great O'Khan, and then finally AEW are in Winnipeg, Canada, the home of both Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. Well, they both will be challenging for the trios titles against the House of Black in their respective factions. And then, of course, we got some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, let's begin with MLW with Underground Wrestling. This took place this past Tuesday. I know because it's Wednesday. Um, this is what happened. It opened up with Rio One, formerly known as Enzo Moore, who's kind of ticked off that the fact is that after he got run over by Mance Warner by his pickup truck, his Mance buddies, the second gear crew, bailed him out. So Rio One is not really happy with the idea that this happened, that they should have kept him in jail for attempted murder and all this. But Mance Warner's not going to take this anyway. So he goes out in a wheelchair, hijacks the show, saying he's going to sue everyone. He's going to sue MLW, Mance Warner. And of course, Mance Warner shows up, saying he's sick and tired of his crap. But unfortunately, he has another pressing matter, which is he ended up in a hardcore match against RSP, who is a member of Raven's faction. I don't know what the name of it, but they keep referencing Trust Raven or something like that. But it was a very difficult, a very brutal match between Mance Warner and RSP. While Rio One is in fact in the commentating booth enjoying it. He's hoping that RSP put him away. But like any moment we see in pro wrestling, we thought Enzo Moore, Rio One, supposed to be in a wheelchair. He got up, whacked Mance Warner with his clutch, fooling everyone. But you know for a fact, Mance Warner's not gonna let this one go. He's not gonna make this, very easy for Rio One, thinking that you got me, I got you. That doesn't work with Mance Warner. He wants to see you bleed. So, but RSP picked up the win, and that's how it turned out. Now, as you know, we have the members of the Azteca Lucha, consisting of Sam Adonis, Dale Valkyrie, and John Morrison. They decided to pick on Billy Starks because, Billy has her sights set on the MLW Women's Featherweight title. So it appears that, it's going to happen. But if I'm Billy Starks, I would definitely try to get some backup because you don't know if you can trust any of these fools. Now, Cesar Duran demanded this match to take place. He wanted Lince Dorado to put the MLW Middleweight Championship on the line due to the fact that Lince Dorado is in fact friends with Microman, a mini lucha lord that Cesar Duran had felt like he needs to get rid of. But Lince Dorado, who's been a good friend of him, step up for him but he has to face Estrella. Now, this is the weird part. Before the Underground Wrestling took place, apparently there was a tag team between Estrella and featuring Lince and Microman, but it seems that Estrella took it personal because he thought that he did something, and he walked off, let Microman and Lince later. So basically, he just walked off. But we don't know if this was in as a way to for Cesar Duran to have Estrella in his back pocket. But it was a pretty good match. But however, if Estrella is gonna be there, Cesar Duran is gonna be by his side. So that's gonna be like that. But luckily, Microman was there with the kendo stick to whack the henchman and all this and that. So basically, it's kind of interesting how that turned out. But luckily, Lince Dorado was able to retain the title when he applied the shooting star press. But I'm sure he's very thankful that his new friend, or should we say BFF, Microman, saved the day for him. Now, the Bumaye Fight Club, as you know, they've been dealing with the crap with Davey Boy Smith and the Billington Bulldogs. Now, as you remember, Alex Kane thinks that nothing good ever in wrestling comes out of the British. We all can beg to differ, but we all know Davey Boy's reputation. He is the first he is the grandson of Stu Hart, nephew to Bret Hart, Neidhart, and his dad is the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and of course his cousins is the Billington Bulldogs, Mark and Tom, the nephews of the late Dynamite Kid. So he said that he wants Davey Boy Smith. I'm not sure if this is I'm sure that Alex Kane wants to prove once and for all why he is the most dominant person. Now, Court Bauer makes his appearance saying that we're going to have a contract signing for the MLW World Heavyweight Championship between challenger Jacob Fatu and Alex Hammerstone. Now, these two characters, they've been going at it for quite some time. They're not even strangers to each other. If you guys remember, it was Hammerstone who dethroned Jacob Fatu for this belt. But now it appears it's more determined than ever. But the contract signing was a little chaotic, so they were able to separate them. However, something very interesting took place. While Cesar Duran was leaving, apparently his henchman kidnapped him. I don't know if that's what story's telling me, but the last time Cesar Duran ever left, I'm not sure if this has something to do with Raven being there, because when the calling cards first started, he ran away like a coward. I'm not sure if Raven has something to do with this, but it's kind of interesting that this is happening now. But we'll find out. Now, our main event features the MLW World Tag Team titles. We have the challengers Juicy Finau and Lance Anoa'i taking on Hustle and Power, Calvin Tankman, and EJ and Duca. This match was another brutal rivalry between them, but I have to say it was a pretty damn good one. But as you know, the Samoan SWAT team has proven why they are an effective and dominating tag team because we haven't seen the Hustle and Power for a while defended those tag titles, because we saw AJ and Duca decided to go for the MLW World title, which he failed to do. And of course, Lance Anoa'i who picked up the win. We applied a diving body splash onto I think it was Calvin Tankman, but it was a really good match, giving Samoa SWAT to become our brand new MLW World Tag Team champion. So I'm really happy with that. So if Fatu wins the MLW World Heavyweight title, well, we could see the Samoan SWAT team taking over MLW in a good way. So I think that's pretty much it right now with them. So let's move on with GLEAT. Okay, so we got GLEAT right now. So let's get started right now. Um, it opened up with, of course, Osi and Itsuka teaming up with Yu Izuka. Now it turns out that what's his name? Onizuka is no longer a member of Strong Hearts, according to the bottom of his when they introduce his name. He is not part of the main unit. I'm not sure what was the reasons for that, but I'm not sure. But it's still unclear to me why. But hopefully one day it can be explained. So they team up to face off the members of 60 Seconds, OG Shiba and Keiichi Sato, which was, I have to say, is a pretty good match. Um, as you know, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because I'm not sure if Onisuka is like in my opinion, the weakest link with Strongheart. But since going to the main unit has been good for him recently, but I have to say, Yu Izuka picked up a pretty good match when he kind of picked up and slammed down Sato onto the mat. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Picked up a really impressive win. However, in the post match, once again, the Jan's family, who's been stalking Onizuka to join the group. But however, the recruitment was in fact halted with the arrival of the Black Generation International. So they immediately attacked the BGI out of the blue and just left them for dead. As you know, BGI are now proving that they are now in full control of the promotion because, as you know, Kaito Ishida is the current G-Rex champion. Now, our next match, we have, of course, the Yoshi wrestlers taking stage. We have Michiko Miyagi and Yukari Hosokawa taking on the wrestlers from Sendai Girls, Manami, and of course, Mika Iwata. This was a very interesting matchup. Now, um, as you know, there was Osakawa has been gone for a while now. She came back, but they're facing against two wrestlers who have more prominent reputation than her. But unfortunately, it was Yukari who ended up being on the wrong side of the diving body splash by Nanami to pick up a good win. But however, she better have her game face ready because she and Michiko will be facing Itsuki Aoki and Unagi Sayaka on the 21st. Now, our next match, we got the other members of 60 Seconds, Jun Toncho, Tetsuya Tsushi, taking on, what's his name? Soma Watanabe and T-Hawk. I have to say, I've watched Soma Watanabe grow up a lot since the formation of GLEAT. I just can't believe how much he's done. He picked up a much impressive win when he applied a double jumping strike onto Toncho to pick up a win. So I wouldn't be surprised if Stronghearts have recommendations to have Soma Watanabe to join because he has teamed up with members of Stronghearts, and that could be a possibility. Now, speaking of Stronghearts, we got the former G-Rex champion Linda Man taking on Bulk Orchestra's Czech Shimatani. These guys to me are almost similar in some capacity. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to, let me explain. They're about equal height. They're both two of the strongest competitors of being the shortest members. Now, if you guys ever seen Linda Man, he's not afraid to take on much bigger competitors, and I'm sure Czech Shimatani is the same thing. But who's gonna walk out? Now, you probably would expect that Linda Man would end this match with his finisher, the German suplex. Nope. Apparently, Czech Shimatani was about to apply the crucifix, but somehow it was Lindemann who reversed it and made it a pretty good way on his spot. So that's a pretty good moment to see. Now, our next match, we have Kaz Hayashi teaming up with Minoru Tanaka. They take on the members of Bulk Orchestra, consistent of Quiet Storm and Hayato Tamura. Um, Pretty good, strong match. The last time I did not expect to see Minoru Tanaka and Kaz Hayashi to team up because the last time Tanaka got pissed off with them, but it seems like they're willing to bury the hatchet and move forward. But I have to say their teamwork was very impressive. But it wasn't enough until Quiet Storm put Minoru Tanaka away with a big lariat, giving him a good win. However, um, the members of Bulk Orchestra were surprised with the visit of the Saito brothers, Saito brothers, coming from All Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, if you guys have been aware or not, All Japan and GLEAT will be colliding in a very big event happening real soon. This is going to be huge. And trust me, I can't wait to see, hopefully I can get to see it. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Shima taking on Kaz Sakamoto and facing off Kotaro Suzuki. Now, these men are representing three of the strongest factions within GLEAT. Shima, who represents Strong Arts, Kaz Sakamoto, who represents Bulk Orchestra, and of course, Kotaro Suzuki representing Black Generation International. I thought this match was pretty good, but I think I was more surprised that this was possibly a huge win for Kazuma Sakamoto when he applied a package pilot driver onto Suzuki, giving him the win. But later was announced officially that the Kazuma Sakamoto is now officially a member of the GLEAT. He was a freelancer, but I'm not sure if that was the case. But we'll see what happens then. Now, our main event, we have the members of the Yans family, Masato Kamino, Yusuke Kodama, and Takanori Ito to take on the members of the Black Generation International, Utani, Hartley Jackson, and Kaito Ishida. Now, you know that the Black Generation International are determined to prove why they are the dominant faction, and they're not going to let other people to rain on their parade, especially if the Yans family are recruiting people. That was the whole thing, what happened. But apparently, Takanori Ito had Ishida right where he wanted him for the German, but apparently he reversed it into a victory roll 1, 2, 3. But during a promo, as you know, Black Generation International proving once again why they are the dominant. But out of nowhere, we saw the leader of Bulk Orchestra. I think it's Ruchi Kawakami, who we haven't seen for quite some time. Now, the last time we saw him, he was betrayed by Ishida because he was the one who personally recruited him to join Bulk Orchestra, but it turned out he had his own plans in mind. And I'm sure Kawakami will not forget that. So he's not going to let a guy like Ishida try to rain on his parade. So he decided, I'm going to rain on your parade since you like to prove how dominant. So it's interesting now. I wouldn't be surprised if Kawakami makes a play for the G-Rex title. But however, he may have to wait because Kazuma Sakamoto has a title opportunity. I'm not 100% sure if that will take place on G Pro Wrestling version 47. That is something I'm not 100% sure just yet. But for now, we'll just stick to how we end things right here. But let's move on to our next review, and I think we're doing New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling. As I mentioned before, we continue with more of the New Japan Cup. Now, these last two matches that are taking place are the final of the second rounds before we get to the, I think it's the quarterfinals, I believe, or semifinals, wherever it is. But nonetheless, it's going to be a good one. So before we get to that, let's go start to finish. Our opening match. Well, first things first. It was announced recently that Will Ospreay has been withdrawn from the New Japan Cup. Reason because of that, of the injury, he obtained obtained a shoulder injury. Now, Kevin Kelly never specified it, but it was announced on social media that he had a shoulder injury, and this was the result of his match against Mark Davis. Now, what does this mean for his remaining matches involving the New Japan Cup? Well, Will Ospreay decided to nominate the opponent that he defeated in his match, Mark Davis, to take his place. So Mark Davis mentioned that he's proud that Will Ospreay chose him to become his replacement. He's hoping that the New Japan Cup goes straight to the United Empire. But however, he has other opponents he has to face, and I'll get to that in a bit. So now let's get started with, of course, our opening match. We have Yuto Nakashima taking on Aaron Henare. Now, you probably can guess this match will fall in favor of Aaron Henare, which it did. Now, I have to say Nakashima really was very impressive. He was taking every blow that he can was given to him by Hinari, and he kicked out of it. But however, there was no way he can get out of the full Nelson, and basically passed out. But of course, Hinari, who's being a little scumbag, decided not to let it go, despite the fact that he won the match. I think what happened, Hinari is pissed that he was taken out of the New Japan Cup. Because he keeps saying it's my time. He brags like a little girl about it. But nonetheless, he's out. He needs to accept that maybe it wasn't his time yet. But well, that's what happens when he does it. He thinks otherwise. Now, our next match we have Rohei Oiwa teaming up with the members of our current IWGP Tag Team Champions, Bushiman, Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto, where they take on the members of the United Empire, consistently with Kyle Fletcher, Mark Davis, and Jeff Cobb. Now, keep in mind, Davis and Fletcher has their eyes set on the titles that they have determined that they want to win. But at this timing, Davis has to focus on doing the task at hand, to winning the New Japan Cup in the name of the United Empire. But you probably can guess that this is one of those matches where Bushiman knows they're going to be taunt for this, but it was Davis who picked up the win when he pinned Oiwa to give him a good win. But however, it does send a direct message to Bushiman that they will be coming for the tag titles. Now, our next match, we have all four members of Just Four Guys, Taka Michinoku, Doiki, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Taichi, taking on all four members of the House of Torture. Now, you probably can guess that there's going to be a lot of cutting corners coming from the House of Torture, because we have seen how these guys operate time and time again to pick up wins. But however, it did not do any but no favors for anybody, especially for Togo, who ended up in the wrong side of a submission by Taichi, and he had no other choice but tap. But Taichi refused to let go. But Kevin Kelly, who hates the House of Torture, tells him, "Hey, come on, young lions, just let him go, let him break his neck," because he wants to see them suffer. But this is a huge win for Just Four Guys, and reasons behind that: they have won either singles competition or tag team competition, but all four of them together, never. So this is a huge step of many matches to come for them. Now, our next match, we have members of the Bullet Club, El Phantasmo, Chase Owens, and Kenta taking on Ren Narita and Yado and Tama Tonga. Now, keep in mind, we don't know how things are going on with Bullet Club. As you know, El Phantasmo, who has not been a fan of, who David Finlay being there. Apparently, Chase Owens gave a little, insight of what happened. Now, if you guys remember clearly with the Bullet Club history, they have a tendency to beat up the leaders when they lose their big matches. If you guys remember what happened to Finn Balor and AJ Styles and all this and that. However, they made it clear that they weren't going to do that to Jay White. So they kind of made an agreement. But Kevin Kelly made a good, fantastic point. Why did David Finlay did what he did? And I think El Phantasmo might be bothered by that. It's more like the agreement is we're going to leave Jay White go off into the sunset. That's always been the agreement. And I think that tells it all. But I will talk more about that on the discussion. I'm currently preparing for that when the day comes. But for now, let's just move on to this match. I have to say it was a pretty good one. But however, I kind of figured that this was going to end with Yado being in a lapel lock by Kenta. But keep in mind, as you know, Bullet Club hasn't forgotten Tama Tonga with his ways. But Tama, as you know, he's determined to move forward and reach to the highest peak of his career. Try to win the New Japan Cup. So that's always been a good thing for him at this point. Now we got Tomoaki Hamna teaming up with the members of Chaos, consistent with Toru Yano, Yo, Tomo Hiroshi, and Leo. They take on all 5 members of LIJ. But the main story is Leo Rush wants to get his hands on the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. which of course has always been on the mindset for everyone to see. And I think it tells us a lot about that. But unfortunately, it was, of course, the direct drive by Yo onto Bushi to pick up a good win. But you know that at this moment, as Hiromu, he likes to make fun of Leo Rush when his team loses. Now he is not laughing. So basically, he has to be prepared for that. Now, our next match, we have the last two of the second rounds of the New Japan Cup. We have David Finlay taking on the Great Khan. I have to say, this is a very interesting matchup. Now, I thought in this particular match that David Finlay was going to cheat by having the other members of the Bullet Club help him out. No, none of that. But he refuses to stay down. He refuses to give in to the Great Khan. You probably, Kyle Fletcher, who was in the commentary team with Kevin Kelly, he thought that maybe this match will be over, that finally someone from the United Empire will reach it to the finals. But no, Great Khan was taken out by David Finlay, and he applied the Trash Panda, and it was over. So his run in the New Japan Cup is over. Now, I'm sure, because I know that Great Khan has suffered some losses, but this one is huge right now at the moment. But the obvious thing is David Finlay is determined to get to the top no matter what. Now, our main event, this one is one of the most absolute best ones I've ever watched. Shota Umino taking on Zack Sabre Jr. Oh man, what a match! I think this is one of the best matches that Shota Umino has ever been in. Now, Zack Sabre Jr. has often criticized Shota Umino. It's like saying, boy, you only here because of your dad, you know. But he was using techniques that only Zack Sabre Jr. would use. That was like, wow, he really knew exactly what he was doing. And I don't think Zack Sabre Jr. would do it, but I know for a fact Zack was waiting for the moments where the Death Rider was going to be applied, and I think Shota Umino knows it as well. But he kept applying it no matter where the point is until he did. He actually picked up a huge win against Zack Sabre Jr. And Zack Sabre Jr., I have to say, whenever he loses a match like this, he tends to be like that sore loser who will not show no respect. But he showed respect to Shota Umino, which was unusual. But he did state it in the post-match comments that he was wrong about him. He's not some snot-nosed brat whose dad, we all know is Red Shoes, who has power within New Japan. Is a reason. No, he saw now that Shota Umino is not who he thought he was. And I'm sure those two will have another run-in somewhere down the line. But Shota Umino, he is aiming for the top. But however, his biggest obstacle is coming up soon, because his opponent will be none other than David Finlay, I believe. Yeah, they'll be in the quarterfinals. This match will take place this Saturday at on the 18th. The same thing goes with Tama Tonga and Hiroki Goto. It's going to be in Shizuoka. I think that's what it is. But however, there is also the other matches. Naito and Tetsuya Naito will face Sanada. And of course, we got Evil versus Mark Davis. Now, hopefully Mark Davis knows what he's doing, because he better have really strong backup, because Evil will stop at nothing to get to there. So that sets it all. So those are the matches. But those matches will take place this Friday. So stand by for that too. So I think that's pretty much it with New Japan. Let's move on to AEW. Okay, so AEW Dynamite, as you know, they are in Winnipeg, Canada, which is the home of Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Now, it opened up with MJF with his little bar mitzvah, celebrating the fact that he retained the AEW World title. But however, his little bar mitzvah was ruined which of course was interesting. We had Jungle Boy making his appearance, then Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. Now, the reasons is this. Why would all three gentlemen? Now, it doesn't take a genius to figure out they want the title, but there's another specific reason. They're looking at MJF, yo, you were giving everything on a silver platter while all of us are the ones who had to work our butt off. But however, I have to say it's very interesting because, each of them really made plead with their case. But the one thing that was kind of unusual was Sammy, because Sammy later on in the main event, he, along with the members of JSA, Jericho, and Garcia, were already booked to challenge for the trios titles in a three-way match. But I have to say, it was crazy, but he was really, he wants to aim higher, just like anybody else would. But however, MJF was not going to let this happen, but he got caked. So basically, it just made a strong plea, knowing that he has big competitors. So if I was MJF, I should be more worried about who will be coming for his title. Now, our opening match, we have the Blackpool Combat Club, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, and John Moxley taking on Hangman Page and Canada's very own Dark Order members, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, who we haven't seen for some time, and I'm like happy to see Stu. He is still in unbelievable shape. Um, I just can't. But it was a good match. I'm not gonna lie. But the match ended with, of course, uh, Hangman Page was taken out, knocked out, and then of course Wheeler Yuta used the ring bell on Stu, but apparently it did not go well for the team because Stu Grayson ended up in a rear naked choke by John Moxley, but John Moxley refused to let go. But luckily, the other members of Dark Horse, Silver and Reynolds show up, but it was just a number of games, just too much between them. So now, if you guys remember clearly what happened on Dynamite, we saw Juice Robinson attack Ricky Starks, but what was the purpose? He said, it's not what reasons why. What is Ricky Starks gonna do? So you probably can guess that he's gonna fight him at any given time. That's what he did when he did an interview, but we'll see. Now our TBS title in an open challenge, we have Jade Cargill along with Layla Gray taking on a much familiar wrestler in Canada, Nicole Matthews. But this one wasn't a much bigger match that I thought. So Nicole got jaded by Jade Cargill. Renee Paquette comes out to do an interview, but Jade Cargill decides to show disrespect to Renee Paquette. But all of a sudden, here comes someone we did not expect, but it was been rumors that she was going to show up. We're talking about Taya Valkyrie. So she made her AEW debut, and not to mention she is a fellow Canadian from Vancouver. So basically, this is a good thing, but it's also been told that she is now all elite. So I'm very happy for her that that's gonna take place. But in the same time, um, she's targeting for the TBS title. Now, do I think she could be the one to dethrone her? Yes. But here's an interesting thing. Both Tail Valkyrie and Jade's move are similar. Jade calls her move the Jaded, while Tail Valkyrie calls it the Road of Valhalla. So she kind of planted Layla Gray to send a direct message to Jade Cargill. I'm sure that's going to be a good match between those two. Now, as you know, QT Marshall, that little weasel, shows up and tries to helps Hobbs to dethrone Wardlow. So it turns out this QTTV, they're like acting like a bunch of pricks with the TMZ thing, kind of what we see on TV, like where to talk about this. They're saying who stole a Wardlow's title. It was suspected it was them, including certain people that are working for them. But now that Hobbs has the title, he said that this is his world, and he's issuing an open challenge on Friday. And the person who responded was none other than Ray Phoenix. Now, our AEW International title match took place. We have Jeff Jarrett taking on Orange Cassidy. I thought this match was so brutal. Now, Jeff Jarrett, who claims that, oh, he is the most deserving person. Now, he also disrespected the Canadians by applying the sharpshooter, thinking it's so funny. But he wasn't laughing. Now, you know for a fact that, of course, Monday. Okay, sorry about that. But there was a moment when the ref shows up, when Bryce Remsburg was taken out. He was about to use a guitar, but Aubrey Edwards, someone who Jeff Jarrett hates, shows up and stopped him. And then later, Jarrett wants to hit her, but he knows he's going to be in trouble, big time. But luckily, Orange Cassidy grabbed the guitar, was one of the whack, Jeff Jarrett. But luckily, he pulled it. But luckily, which is funny in a way, Singh actually pulled the guitar, and of course, Orange Cassidy pulled an Eddie. He pointed, kind of tapped Aubrey Edwards, and he threw himself in the ground, and he got kicked out. I don't think he expected that. But however, that weasel Jay Lethal shows up. His arm wasn't injured. He used the Globe and Globe to take out, but it did not affect Orange Cassidy. He is, to me, as we say, a true fighting champion. But Trent Beretta took out Jay Lethal once and for all, but it took an orange punch for Orange to take out Jeff Jarrett to retain the title. I'm sure Jeff Jarrett's gonna be pissed, pull off a tantrum on what happened. Now, the Acclaim, as you know, put out a pretty good, interesting video. I think it was a lot of fun. But however, as soon as the video was over, later on it showed that Menard and Parker are still determined to get the Acclaim to join the Jericho Appreciation Society. But of course, they're not going to do it no matter what they say. But yes. Now, as you know, the Outcasts come out with the little promo. They talk about why they're doing this. Now, keep in mind, they're saying the only reason they're here is because they wanted to help elevate the division. But here's the way I see it for me. Britt Baker has a problem with outsiders that come in raining on her parade. So that kind of sets a lot of things. And of course, she insulted many people, especially Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and of course, the others like Riho, Willow Nightingale, and Sky Blue. But luckily, Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter were not going to let this stand, so it was just too much. Here comes Rio and Sky Blue with Willow Nightingale and all that. It was kind of interesting that they decided to help Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, but I don't think the others are appreciated because I have this distinct feeling that they're going to say, you guys caused this mess to happen in the first place. So that kind of sets the whole thing. But we'll just wait and see what takes place after that. Now, our main event, the trios titles, I have to say is a pretty good one. We have the House of Black, Matthews, King, and Black versus the Elite, Nick, Matt, and Kenny, along with the Jericho Appreciation Society, Garcia, Guevara, and Jericho. One thing I did like about the story is this. The most focus was Jericho and Kenny, who are from Winnipeg. This shows like House of Black's like, we're going to take down your heroes. That's the idea. We're going to cleanse your heroes once and for all. And I thought this match was pretty good. But I was like so impressed with everything that took place. But it was, of course, but now Jericho tried to use Floyd onto Brody King. It did not affect them one way or the other. But they applied the Dante's Inferno on Garcia for the House of Black to retain the titles. But here comes Jake Hager, who is not happy that this match ended in that way. He thought he can take on the House of Black personally. But during this match, we did witness Hangman, along with Silver and Reynolds, dealing with the Blackpool Combat Club outside. So it went all the way to the stage, to the, everything went chaotic from there on out. You probably wouldn't expect that a lot, but luckily it did. But when you thought everything was clear, the Blackpool Combat Club were a bunch of vultures around Hangman, but all of a sudden Hangman didn't realize that the members of the Elite show up, and they backed them up, and the Blackpool Combat Club kind of backed off. So I don't know what this means with the Elite in this, but is rather interesting how this turns out. So we'll see what goes on Rampage, and then of course on next week's Dynamite. So, but also some good news that I want to put out for this particular section. You guys may have heard the Forbidden Door is coming back, and it's going to be in Canada for a 6-show tour. Apparently, they announced there's going to be some shows in other locations there. So it's great to hear that that is coming back. I'm sure everybody's going to have some guesses who may show up, who you want to see show up from New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I just hope, in my opinion, they do finally have the wrestlers from Stardom to take place. I'm sure that's something we all want to see. So I think that's pretty much it right now for AEW. I believe it's time for news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. So let's get started. WWE has announced their next inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame for this year, and it was rumored that it was going to be this guy. It's now been 100% confirmed. It's going to be none other than the Great Muta. I'm kind of excited to see how this is going to go down. So congratulations, Muta. Now, West Coast Pro announced for the Home of Killers event that takes place on the 7th of April. We're going to have Aja Kong coming in from Japan. I know she's going to be here in the States for WrestleMania weekend. Her opponent will be none other than Vert Vixen. So that's going to be interesting. Related to AEW, I forgot to mention this. PW Insider has announced that Sarah Stoke, formerly known as Sarita and Dark Angel, was announced that she is now with AEW, was hired as a coach and a producer. It happened while they were in Winnipeg, which is interesting because if you guys know this, she is in fact a Canadian. So I thought it was an interesting news for them to have right there. If you guys remember, she actually was a coach in WWE in the Performance Center, but she was let go. So the obvious thing was what was next for her, but it's great that she is now being part of AEW. House of Glory has announced for their final hour show that takes place on April 14th that there's going to be a street fight between Cash Flow versus Detective Evander James. So this is going to be interesting. Now, for the GCW Worst Behavior event that's going to take place in Toronto on the 19th of this, which is this Sunday, I believe, we're going to have a very interesting three-way trios match. Boosie will be teaming up with Sawyer Wreck to take on TDT. Oh, hold on, it's TDT, I think that's the name, and Green Phantom versus Los Macizos and Jamie Floyd. So that's going to be interesting. As you guys know, I talked about GLEAT. Galeno Del Mal, who is the brother of Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. and the son of Dr. Wagner Jr., announced that he'll be returning back to Japan for April. Apparently, seems like he made a good impression with the management. He'll be returning on the 12th and 16th of April. The 16th will be in Shinjuku First Ring. Don't know where the 12th will take place. Now, this one is a very interesting one that was announced. Pro Wrestling Wave has announced a brand new trainee who is now part of the roster. We have her name is Kizuna. Now, that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is who she really is. It turns out she is the daughter of GLEAT's very own Minoru Tanaka. So it's interesting to see that. So according to what they're saying, Kizuna actually passed her protest last month. So it's interesting now to see the Tanaka's daughter who's now entering the business. So I haven't seen her wrestle yet, but I'm looking forward to that. Now, interesting developments have taken place recently. If you guys remember, Kenta Kobashi, apparently he announced for another show for the Fortune Dream 8 that'll take place in June in Corkin Hall. Announced that you and her tag team partner Chihiro Hashimoto will be teaming up, but all of a sudden Minoru Suzuki shows up. He kind of popped up and he suggested that he would like to team up with Kenta Kobashi for this match between the ladies, but as you know, he is retired. But this is what I did hear from this particular thing. Kobashi suggested, how about Minoru Suzuki and an X, which is a mystery partner. So fans were suggesting either Kenta, um, Masatsuki Funaki, Jun Akiyama, um, Katsuhiko Nakashima, Keno Ogoshi Ozaki, or Fushiaki Fujiwara, Shinji Shizaki or Josh Barnett, Meiko Satomura, Kodabushi Unagi, or Tashiaki Kawada. But, however, Jericho suggested this. Said no. Suzuki mentioned this. He said that he would like to bring Jericho to be involved in this. Now, Kobashi did stated that there may be a problem with AEW. Now, uh, many of you probably would say Tony Khan probably will not have a problem with it. He probably would allow it to happen. I mean, this is Kenta Kobashi. I wouldn't be surprised if he would say no to this, but we'll just wait and see until that day comes. Because if you guys remember, Suzuki did teamed up with um, Jericho at Forbidden Door last year, but we'll see how that goes. I'll keep apprised if there's anything changes about that. I think that's pretty much it for right now. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have um, Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling taking place. I haven't decided if there's going to be anything before that, but if there's anything, I will post that out as soon as possible. But for now, we'll just stick to what we got. I'll be doing a very interesting news update recently while this video should be finishing up. While before I was working on this, I discovered something interesting that's been happening with Ice Ribbon, the Yoshi promotion. It's very interesting stuff, so I will put that on a separate video as part of the DWZ news updates. Talk about it, and it's not going to be a discussion, but this is more of a what's been happening. So any of you guys who are fans of Ice Ribbon, if you guys are not keeping up what's been going on, so we'll see about that for the time being. So for right now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.